I am going to be so interested to hear from you guys on this one, especially because later on today, I'm going to do a video where I'm going to respond to your comments and questions. So this one in particular, I'd love to hear, where am I getting this wrong? Or, where am I getting it right? What questions do you have about this analysis? But unlike what I did in the past, where a bunch of graphs and charts, and I know some of you love those, I just want to give you kind of a walk through how I see things shaping up at the third quarter of 2024 and how I come to some of my estimates about where the stock price is going to be going. So let's start. Did I say 24? I meant third quarter of 2025. So we got the third quarter of 24 coming up here in a few weeks, but I'm going to be looking at the third quarter of 2025 a year and a month from now, when that will be reported. So here's my theory. First of all, 750,000 cars will be trucks, etc., will be shipped that month. Elon says that he's going to ship 2,700,000 cars and trucks in 2025. And in order to do that, we would have to have at least 750,000 in the third quarter, probably more than that if we're going to hit 2.7 million for the year. Since full self-driving is level 5 and complete by that time, and 100% unsupervised, the take rate will be at least 50% in the US. And that combined, and probably be way up in other countries too at that point. And if you combine that with better margins due to demand that is off the charts, I think we will see an absolute minimum of $10,000 in profit per car. I think it'll be way more. That's counting the car and the FSD and even the credits and all that stuff. I'm sorry, did I say 10,000? I meant $12,000 per car. 10,000 would be a walk in the park. 12,000 per car times the 750,000 would give us a $9 billion profit. So $12,000 per car. Now, this is, again, we're looking at an average car right around 45,000, 25% margins. Right away, you're already at 10,000. So, I think 12,000 is an easy get. All right. Then the Robotaxi network will be up and running. So it's 9 billion. That's the first number, is 9 billion. Write that down. Robotaxi network will be up and running. The estimates of Tesla's income as a percent of revenue generated by non-Tesla owned cars is about 15%. Some people think it'll be 20. Some people think it'll be 10. So I'm going to take that middle ground. Now, this is in a comparison, let's say, to Apple making 30% on their app, with no expense really at all, except to approve the app. I mean, it's about all they do for their 30%, and provide a location, of course. So Tesla might be getting 15%. We're saying 15% from the app. So if we have, I would say at least by that time, 200,000 cars in the US fleet of owned vehicles, stuff that you and I own. So our cars are out there making money. I'm saying that at least 200,000 cars in the US fleet getting rides full or part-time. So I'm gonna base that on 4,000 miles per month of actual revenue producing miles. I'm saying it's gonna be 2/3 of the miles. So 6,000 total miles, 4,000 revenue generating miles at $1.50. I think there's a very good chance that in the first year, they'll be able to get as much as Uber or Lyft, maybe even more than Uber or Lyft, because there's no tips. There's no, there's the unique aspect about it. There is people that want to do the right thing in terms of the environment, and then there are people that don't want to talk to the driver. So I think they could charge more than Uber or Lyft, but I'm just going to go with $1.50 a mile, which would be way less than the average on Uber and Lyft. So that's an average of 6,000 gross revenue per car at 15% is $900 a month per vehicle. Now, I'm going to say right in the beginning, there's going to be significant cost to Tesla. There may be more activity in terms of remote drivers, people that can be called on to help out or who jump in because there is some kind of a signal from the car that they need to jump in. There's going to be setting up maybe systems for getting cars washed and managed. Anyway, I'm just going to say, I'm going to go really, really low and say maybe Tesla only gets $500 net profit per month. That would cause us to get about 100 million per month, or 300 million per quarter. Now I know that's not a very big number. I mean, but of course it's going to grow like this as it goes international. As the numbers go up every year, the number goes up a lot. So we're going to say 300 million per quarter for that. I think it would be safe to say that Megapacks will be at about 15,000 units per Megapack units being sold per year at about $1 million each. That's a $15 billion gross sales, at least 25% margins. So that's $3 billion per year, or 900 million per quarter. That's probably way too conservative. It's probably going to be more than 15,000 per year. And there's going to be other income from services and whatnot. So I'm probably very low on this number, but we'll take 900 million from now. So the total, if you add that up, is 10.2 billion less operating expenses. Now, those were 3 billion in quarter two of this past quarter. So let's just say 4.2. I think that's also maybe a little bit on the high side. So that gets us down to about tripling of the amount that was made, 41.5. I'm sorry. I got a problem here on this. So about 4.2 billion in profit for the quarter. That's 16.8 annualized, or $5.40 per share annualized. With a 60 PE, that gets you to $325. So that would be kind of the standing 1 month next year, October. If there was no future, well, if there was a decent future, people saying, yeah, it's going to be okay in the future for Tesla, they'll continue to have these nice increases. So you get a 60 PE, you'd be at about 325. So how in the world is Randy saying $700 a share by the end of 2024 if Randy's saying $700 a share at the end of 24 if we have unsupervised FSD? All right. So there's a bunch of different ways, but let's talk about a few of the reasons. Once Robotaxi is a reality, and that is as soon as FSD is unsupervised and people can see that these cars drive around by themselves, well, then Robotaxi is a reality, even if the app hasn't been switched on. A lot of people think the app will be switched on for supervised Robotaxi, and then, we'll have unsupervised Robotaxi shortly thereafter. But it will be easy to start doing a spreadsheet for the guys on Wall Street and for anybody that's got a brain. So then if my $500 per car per month turns out to be realistic, then there's another number that we have to look at, and that's the $4,000 per month per car for the Tesla-owned fleet. So people have to start plugging that in, because by next year, middle of the year, end of the second quarter, whenever, Tesla will start putting out their own fleet, maybe sooner. Maybe they'll start putting it out before they have cybercabs. Maybe they'll start putting out some of those used vehicles that are coming back on lease. Maybe they'll put out new vehicles that they just choose to go ahead and start building their own fleet. Those are going to generate about $4,000 per month. And again, by the end of this year, we should be able to do the long-term math when FSD no longer requires supervision. So let's just go out, on a limb and say that Tesla would have next year 50,000 cybercabs of their own at 4,000 each. That's 200 million per month. 200 million per month. Okay. By the end of the next quarter, maybe you add another, maybe by the end of the year, beginning of next year, the following year, maybe you're adding another 100,000. Now you have 600 million per month. And then this continues, and you can spreadsheet this. When I owned my own businesses, that's what I would do. What do I think it's going to be next quarter? What do I think it's going to be next year? What do I think it's going to be 2 years out? What do I think it'll be 3 years out? Well, that's what the Wall Street guys do too. It's probably what you do. Well, then those numbers are crazy enough. But as Brian Wong points out, and I think you'll begin to also, you might not have this information by the end of this year, but you'll have it, next year sometime. you got to see that video too. As he points out in that video yesterday morning, the truck opportunity is even greater. We could be looking at more than $100,000 per truck per year for the Tesla fleets, for their own fleet, if they put out their own trucks. In other words, not just selling them to Pepsi or selling them to UPS or to Walmart, but also putting out their own fleet where somebody just, calls Tesla and says, hey, we need a truck, or actually has an app, and they just push the app. The truck comes to them, picks up the load, takes it to wherever it's going to go, drops the load, and then looks for another opportunity on the app to pick up another load. If 20,000, just 20,000 of those are deployed in 2026, that could add another $2 billion run rate in 2026. And do that again in 2027, and you get the point. So then, you can have FSD coming in from the other trucks that are being sold as well. FSD money coming in at so much a month per truck. And we haven't even started to talk about Optimus and any of that. By the end of next year, I would expect to see by the end of this year, I'm expecting to see pictures of many Optimi at work doing seriously meaningful tasks in the factory. Not only that, you're going to see other companies with robots doing seriously meaningful work in the factory. And this is going to allow Wall Street to start to pencil things out. So maybe in the first quarter, maybe it'll be first quarter before we see this, but I think it'll be by the end of the year. If Optimus can replace one employee, they can just replace one employee, making $60,000 all in. That's about $25. That's about $22 an hour, plus all the overhead that goes to that employee. If Optimus can replace that one employee, making $60,000, then 1,000, which is what Elon says is the minimum next year, would save Tesla $60 million. But if you do 2 shifts, we're now talking about $120 million. 3 shifts, $180 million. And more realistically, I think there'll be over 2,000 next year. Let's just go at 2,003 shifts, saves Tesla $360 million run rate. Because I don't know what month they'll actually have this total, but I think by the end of the year, it could be a lot more than that. Anyway, $360 million. And that's the first year. And that's before they start producing them for others. We're talking about massive, massive, massive numbers. Well, if you don't believe that the smart guys on Wall Street won't be able to figure this out by the end of the year, assuming that, remember those 2 assumptions. Assumption number 1, and it's the most important one, is that Robotaxis will probably be a thing. Maybe they'll be a thing, but more importantly, that unsupervised rides for everybody will be an absolute thing, making Robotaxi a certainty. That's what the clear thing has to be before Wall Street, I think, will be able to do the analysis. Now, maybe they're going to wait until Robotaxis are out there for a few months before they'll start doing spreading it, doing the spreadsheets. And I've said that before, and I continue to believe it might be true, but maybe not. All right, as noted, please, please, please go look at Brian Wong's video from yesterday morning. I'm going to put the card right there. You really want to watch that. And if you are interested in what's happening in the economy and interested in what is probably going to happen in the economy going forward, Kathy Wood does a great job, and Larry Goldberg and I believe, do an amazing job of analyzing what Kathy Wood analyzed. So anyway, remember also that coming up later today, I'm going to do responses to your comments and questions from videos over the past few days. And that'll be around noon or 1 o'clock, something like that. I know you'd have to cut out some football time, but what the heck. And then tonight, probably around 5 o'clock, 5:30, we'll do the we'll do the Monday morning show, which tells you all about what to expect for next week. Earnings, I don't think there'll be any significant earnings coming out next week, but we do have a few significant things happening next week in the reporting scheme, like, for instance, the CPI and the PPI, but there's a lot more, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be quite as crazy as last week. The week after might be crazier. All right, so that's all I got for you right now, and as always, it has been, you could join Patreon. That'd be really sweet. Thank you so much for watching. It's been great talking to you.